The next story is a development from Tuesday's episode, in which I talked about Trump attempting to end birthright citizenship via executive order. A judge has now temporarily blocked that executive order as expected. And we also have a little bit of a look into the main argument that Trump's administration plans to put forth in support of its executive order. On Tuesday, I explained that under Trump's order, individuals who are born in the United States are not automatically entitled to U.S. citizenship. Currently, if you are born on U.S. soil, you are a U.S. citizen. The legal status of your parents is irrelevant. Under Trump's order, though, in order to gain U.S. citizenship upon your birth in the United States, at least one of your parents has to either be a permanent resident or a U.S. citizen. Now, as I mentioned on Tuesday, a lawsuit was immediately filed challenging the constitutionality of this order because the 14th Amendment says, and I quote, "All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside." Furthermore, in 1898, more than 120 years ago, the Supreme Court held that anyone born on U.S. soil is automatically a U.S. citizen. So the two updates in this story are, one, the Trump administration has filed its response to the lawsuit against it, which lets us in on its arguments as to why the order should be upheld. And two, the judge overseeing the case has temporarily blocked the order from taking effect, which means that it will not take effect 30 days from the date it was signed, as it was originally supposed to. The judge wrote in his ruling, quote, "I've been on the bench for 4 decades. I can't remember another case where the question presented is as clear as this one. This is a blatantly unconstitutional order," end quote. As for the Trump administration's argument, though, it all comes down to jurisdiction in the 14th Amendment, which is exactly the argument that was laid out in the 1898 case before the Supreme Court, which was ultimately rejected. So Trump's legal team said, quote, "Ample history evidence shows that the children of non-resident aliens are subject to foreign powers and thus are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and are not constitutionally entitled to birthright citizenship," end quote. Now, as I said, this argument is identical to the argument set forth in that 1898 case. But in rejecting that argument more than 120 years ago, the Supreme Court held that every citizen or subject of another country, while domiciled here, is subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, and therefore the 14th Amendment Citizenship Clause applies to anyone born on U.S. soil. Now, if this challenge to President Trump's order makes it all the way up to the Supreme Court, which it very well could, it'll be an interesting question, particularly for the justices that are opposed to the influx of immigration, yet highly value this nation's history, its precedent, and the text of the Constitution. Justice Thomas specifically comes to mind here. So it'll be interesting to see what the Supreme Court does with it, even though I, from a legal perspective, have a very good inclination of how this case will end, but I will keep you updated as the case continues on. Just know that for now, the order will not take effect, and if it does eventually take effect, it won't be until the judge issues a final decision on the matter, which could take months. And then even from there, it'll be appealed. So there's definitely a lot that will happen between now and when we could see this order go into effect.